We all have a belief system. Would you agree?
Yes.
We all do. And I'm curious. Well, let me just share this by Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck. He not only says we have a belief system, he also goes on to share that Stuart Kaufman has he has something he calls the adjacent possible, and it refers to the change that's available to us. Consider it like next door to what we believe. So whatever our belief system is now, there is a possibility with added information that we glean from different sources that we may expand our horizon of belief. So right next to our belief system, there is an adjacent possible. So it's possible to open up our thinking to take in, if you will, more of an expanded awareness of spiritual truth. Now, there's also next to that, by the way, his graphics look much prettier than mine. But next to that would be the adjacent impossible. And that is when you've gained so much knowledge and information, new information that contradicts what your old BS was. Oh, excuse me, your old belief system. When you get so much that contradicts that, then it's impossible. And what happens is some people retreat, not just with what their old belief system was, but they retreat so far back. It's like, I'm not taking on any more information because this all sounds like, and then you can add whatever you want to that. So what I'm hoping for the next few classes is that if you hear something that is outside of your belief system, just allow it to radiate out just a little bit into that adjacent possible. Like it's a possibility to open up. Now, all of you being Unity people, I don't think there's a problem there. However, there may be one something that wants to venture out into the adjacent impossible, and I would just ask that you let us know so that we can lovingly, gently pull you back in to the adjacent possible. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? No, you still with me?
Yep.
Good.
Gigi?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to let you know that Maddie is trying to get in, but she's going to have to be let into the room.
All right, not a problem.
I
am going to let her in right now as soon as
I wouldn't.
You are so bad.
She's my angel.
That's
okay,
right.
Hold on.
A lot of fun.
Hold on. I gotta stop sharing the screen for a minute. Oh, here it is. Hold on. There she is. Is Maddie in?
Yes, she is.
Okay, great.
Good.
She's eating supper too.
Good, good. Wonderful, wonderful.
All right.
All right, hold on. Let me get rid of this here.
I couldn't get to a meeting. I tried since 6:30.
So sorry about that, sweetheart.
Me too.
All right.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome.
All right, someone please, oh, before you read that, hold on, let me go back up there. Before you read that, let me go to humankind. One of the prominent beliefs concerning humankind is that we were conceived in inequity and born in sin. We have accepted this thinking of ourselves as incurable sinners. So much accepted is that it is a difficult exercise to entertain an alternative to this idea. So could I get someone to read what's next? Anyone?
I'll read.
Okay, thank you.
We have accepted, even concluded, that we are indelibly tainted with the original sin of Adam and Eve. But if we take the time to explore the Bible in depth, we will realize that the story of Adam and Eve is allegorical. It was composed after much of the rest of the Old Testament was recorded, designed to give a beginning to the story of human beings. We cannot deny that the story of creation is beautifully written, excuse me, but we would do well to remind ourselves that it is a human endeavor to write of our beginnings.
So what does that say to you, Debbie?
Well, it's something, I didn't realize that it was written after, you know, the other Old Testament was put together, just to kind of start the story. That's new to me.
Uh-huh.
But I have to say personally, I came from a Baptist, and we didn't really talk much about original sin, or at least when I was a child, or, you know, growing up. I didn't hear much about that. And so I never really knew much about original sin. And so I think I didn't ever have that concept.
Uh-huh.
So this is easy for me to believe, you know, that that it's allegorical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not difficult for you to bring that into your belief system, right?
Right.
Your expanded belief system.
Right.
Anybody else want to touch on this?
It's an awful lot on two people,
Isn't it?
you know?
Two people, human, flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did it all.
Mm-hmm.
Caused it all. I don't think that's possible.
And Eve got the worst rap on it. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Why does it matter?
Yeah, she did. She absolutely did. Okay, so let's move
I think Barbara had a comment.
Oh, Barbara, what did you want
Oh,
to
no. No, I can make a comment, but I didn't really have one. But I have not been brought up in a church consistently when I was young, so I never had problems with, you know, thinking that these are stories and allegorical and all that.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I was in the Lutheran church, I did take some classes, and one of the things I found there was they were saying that there are actually two creation stories.
Yes.
And one of them was written by more agricultural people, and then the other one, and they appear both together, you know, in Genesis. And the other one was written by more intellectual, educated people. So I think the Adam and Eve one was the agricultural one, but they you know, their stories telling us of the truth, you know, a deeper truth than what Adam and Eve. But I never have a problem with saying these are stories telling us something, but not something that happened just like they say it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I never had that problem because of. I used to regret not being brought up in the church, but then later on I thought, well, it's a lot easier not having all those beliefs to do away with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To me, it's just an allegory is the word, of the moment that we thought we were separate. And
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
that's what I've always thought about it since I came to university. It's the moment we thought we were separate and that we were female and male, which we've always been the same. And yeah.
Good perspective.
Okay, where's the second story in Genesis?
I think the second story was the one where, you know, it happens in 7 days and he created the sun.
They're right by each other.
Yeah.
One's about the spiritual and one's about the physical.
Yeah.
I know that there are 2 stories, and where they are exactly, I do not recall.
Let me grab my Bible and I'll tell
There's
you.
your answer.
All right. So now let's move on to the next one. Who would like to read this, please?
Many of us have been bombarded since childhood with the teaching that we are miserable sinners resulting from the fall of Adam. And the implication has been that an entire lifetime would not be sufficient time to eradicate the taint of our sinfulness. Is this our true estate? Are we doomed to spend our lifetime struggling to overcome the sin that we brought into this world at birth? Do we need to keep reminding ourselves and God of this sinfulness? Are there truly unforgivable sins? If we truly believed any of this, it would indeed seem that we were doomed. How can we ever surmount a burden of sin that is imposed upon us by the nature of our creation? Good question. St. Paul shared this insight, teaching that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and fellow heirs with Christ. Romans 8:16-17. What a glorious insight into the nature of humanity.
And there's something else I wanted to add to that. Let's see, St. Paul. Okay, and listen to this. The ancient Hebrew King David also had such an insight. In Psalms 8:4-6, we read, "What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou dost care for him? Yet thou hast made," okay, we got to endure this language. "Yet thou hast made him little less than God, and dost crown him with glory and honor. Thou hast given him dominion over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet." Okay, so now, Kenny, starting with the first bullet point, second and third, go through that and see, pick out something to share with us from your perspective.
Well, I don't think I was miserable back when I was a sinner, but I think that it's implying that.
Oh, you were one?
At one time, I believed I might have been, but you know that I was taught that you couldn't live your whole life and ever make it okay. You know that you were sinful by nature and sinful you would die.
Yeah.
And that's not how I play the game. So I never could jive with that as a child.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I just remember thinking, are they kidding me?
Exactly.
I haven't done anything wrong. What's this sin about?
Yeah.
I remember that feeling as a child, thinking something's not right here.
Right. Everything that feels good doesn't have to be bad. You know, and that's how I grew up. You know, everything's bad. Everything's bad.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Debbie, you had something you wanted to say?
No, I guess just thinking back in my family, I mean, we went to church, you know, every Sunday, but we were not that religious as far as the teachings and, you know, hammering in all of this. This never was ingrained in me.
Yeah.
So
you were a sinner.
Right.
My parents didn't do it. It was church and Bible school and Sunday school that did it. My parents didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's me too, but I don't know.
I was brought up in a church, a Methodist church, and yes, I was taught the same thing, that, and I was always afraid that something was going to happen to me because I had sinned. Everything that I did, I felt like was sinful. If you overate, that was even sinful, considered a sin, gluttonous and that sort of thing. All right, so go to the next bullet point, Kenny.
Is this our true estate? Are we doomed? No. Do we need to keep reminding ourselves? We do. We don't need to, but we do. Are there truly unforgivable sins? I think not. And if you believe any of that, you are doomed.
Yeah.
How can we ever surmount? There is no way to surmount it if you believe that's your nature, that's your kind of God.
Right, right.
That kind of God died for me.
Well, what we know now, based on what we've been learning and have been taught through Unity teachings, and what we just learned or were reminded of last Tuesday, we know that that cannot possibly be true. Because if God is all there is, God is love, we are children of God. And if God is all there is no room for anything or any entity to cause us to sin. There's just no room for that. There's only room for us to forget and for us to move away from that knowing. And then hopefully we are reminded to come back in alignment with the truth. And that we are just like the waves of the ocean. We are just like the ocean. We are just like God.
What I got from that is the very first time I read it, when I first came to Unity, was a sense of peace. And oh my gosh, I knew that I felt that way already. But there it was in writing, and I could see it, and I could agree with it. And I thought, finally, I'm home.
Finally. Yes, I hear you. Okay, is there more you wanted to say, Kenny?
I was just going to say, God created me in his image. God is perfect. God is good. I can't change perfect. If I could, it wouldn't be perfect.
Yeah.
So,
no, you're
that's
right.
how I look at it. You know, I do believe that God is all good and all love. And if he creates, or she or it creates in its image, that's perfect and good and love. And if I want to believe I can change that, I can. But believing I changed it doesn't change it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I wanted to get the message, get this particular scripture, Psalms 8:4-6, from the book, The Message, but I didn't go back there and get it in time.
I have it right here if you'd like me to read it.
Would you read that, Debbie? Yes. Would you please, Psalms 8:4-6?
Debbie's a message.
Yes. Thank you.
Psalm 8:4-6?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
It's going to start with 3. I look up at your macro skies, dark and enormous, your handmade sky jewelry, moon and stars mounted in their settings. Then I look at my micro self and wonder, why do you bother with us? Why take a second look at our way? Yet we've so narrowly missed being God's, bright with Eden's dawn light. You put us in charge of your handcrafted world, repeated to us your Genesis charge, made us lords of sheep and cattle, even animals out in the wild, birds flying and fish swimming, whales singing in the ocean deeps.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
That is
so this phrase, when it says, yet thou hast made him little less than God, it's like we're being told, you are that wave of the ocean, just a little bit of the God that we were made in the image of. And you so beautifully read that from the Message. It's just puts it in today's language.
Out of all the vastness in the universe, why does God care about us? Because he made us of him.
Yes.
I mean, it's that easy.
Yes, yes.
What did you say in the universe that he made?
Yeah, I mean, if everything out there, why does he care for this little speck of blue out there?
Well, he might have cared for another one. We don't know. There could be some aliens out there.
But it's just beautiful. That somebody could think like that back then is pretty amazing.
Yes, yes.
And did you want to say anything about the third bullet point, Kenny?
No.
Okay. Well, let me share from the Revealing Word what is said about or how humanity is described. Humanity, the garden of God, of which the soil is the omnipresent thought substance. Which the soil is the omnipresent thought substance. Okay, hold on. Let's see what this message is coming from. This is important. Okay. Okay. All right. Dawn, of course, has 2 classes on Tuesday nights. She was just saying goodbye to us, and
Wow.
we send her love for coming to spend some time with us. So we are the garden of God. And we are the thought substance. We are the soil in the omnipresent thought substance. How does that make you feel when you hear that? It gives me chills.
Can you read that again? I didn't.
Yes, yes. Humanity, the garden of God, of which the soil is the omnipresent thought substance.
Wow.
So from the soil rises up all of humanity in all of its beauty and glory. Because when you look at or even think about a garden, what do you see and what do you think? You see color, you see variety. Nothing looks exactly the same, yet we see it and we think, oh, how beautiful. That is what humanity is, and we are a part of that. All right, let's go on to the next slide. Someone please read that. This is the last slide for the subject humanity. Someone read that. This is the alternative.
Yes, this is our alternative. Rather than allow ourselves to be mired in the concept of original sin, we can see ourselves as we really are. We are God's children. Our souls are alight with the fire of heavenly virtues.
Yes, yes, yes. Don't you feel in the flow?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second.
That's a new word, alight. I almost missed it.
So we've stepped out of our belief system into the alternate belief system.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to share. This is a little story quickly before we go on to prayer, which is the next subject. Okay, to grow old. And by the way, I don't care if you're younger than 50 or older than 90. Either you will be the age of Mr. Joseph McDonald, or you have been the age of Joseph McDonald, and you can have these sweet memories. All right, so listen up, everybody. Joseph McDonald, just past 80 years of age, had been associated in business with a large number of men over the years, but no one had ever referred to him as Pops or Uncle Joe or Old Man McDonald. He was just one of those unforgettable kind of persons with whom you associated, which you would never associate old age with, right? One day he was lunching with a young associate who was greatly impressed by him. He was so impressed by him because the man had lots of energy. He was in his 80s, right? Lots of energy doing things that some young people were not doing or capable of doing. And the younger man knew that the older one was doing a full day's work in his profession every day, putting many young men to shame with his achievements. Furthermore, the younger man was impressed by his old friend's outlook and carefully laid plans for the future. Finally, I guess the guy just couldn't take it anymore. He just couldn't. The young man asked, Mr. McDonald, if you will forgive the question, how old are you? The older man, he turned merry-eyed. And he thought for a moment, and with a thin look of reproach, this is what he said. My son, my age is none of my business. And this is the key. This is the key. No matter how we move through life, if we focus on the aging, the ailments, I mean, this is part of humanity. Yes, we are getting older in chronological age. However, if we have the mindset that all of humanity must age in the same way, then that is error thinking. So listen to this. While most men are laying plans for retirement and old age, dreading each coming birthday and actually making a business of thinking and talking their age, Joseph McDonald, on the other hand, is too busy living life. So we have conditioned ourselves to live our humanity in a certain way. But life is flowing. It's a process. It's like a river. And a river moves. Even if there are boulders and debris in its path, it will go over, under, or around. A river constantly moves. Our bodies are made to move. Our minds are made to be active. So there's an interesting statement found in the apocryphal work. Have you heard of the Wisdom of Solomon? I haven't read the Wisdom of Solomon, but it says, do not stray from the path of life and so court death. Do not draw disaster on yourself by your own actions, for God did not make death and takes no pleasure in the destruction of any living thing. He created all things that might have being. The creative forces of the world make their life. There is no deadly poison in death. Death is not king on earth, for justice is immortal. But godless men, by their words and deeds, have asked death for his company. Thinking him their friend, they have made a pact with him because they are fit members of his party, and so they have wasted away. All that to say this: the cells of our body are like water. And again, we are to be in motion. And I think it's important for us to remember that part of our humanity, that we are to remain in motion and to remember, just simply to remember. All right, prayer. The most commonly used type of prayer is the prayer of supplication. We have somehow reached the conclusion that the only way we can have our prayers answered is to beg God. Consequently, we have devised prayers that confess to God our unworthiness to receive, and then we beg for the answer to be given to us anyway. This method of prayer is confusing. Would someone read the other 4 bullet points?
I will. It seems that we have concluded that we must fill the role of a praying beggar, that we must always come to God with our hats in our hands, asking God to give us something that we do not have. Some prayers are prayers of agony. Other prayers are perfunctory. Then there are the prayers that are read.
Could you continue?
Yes. Next, there are prayers that are said. Some people say a prayer and others pray a prayer. Obviously, it is more effective to pray our prayers. Real prayer is an entrance into spiritual communion with God. This can only be done when we pray our own heartfelt prayers, when we pray in order to feel a sense of kinship with God and to know the supreme power who is eager to give us all that is for our highest good. The Apostle Paul instructed us to pray constantly. This is where the alternative comes in. It is possible to pray without ceasing. This kind of praying is not done on our knees or with folded hands. The position of the body is unimportant, but the position of the mind is all important. We can have a constant attitude of prayer. Well, I believe that, even like doing the dishes now, I can realize that I'm in prayer, doing chores or doing anything. I bring myself, if I have a moment to think about it, I just know that I'm in prayer by the way that I'm in my mind. But I have found at the beginning of learning to do affirmative prayer, I found it difficult because I did for so many years, please God help me with this, please God help me with that. And now already know that it's coming. It's already on its way. If I've thought it, it's going to happen. And I really believe that now. And I can see it working in my life in many ways, which I won't go into because there's, you know, but basically what I'm saying is this: to pray constantly to me is to be in motion. Like you said, if you snooze, you lose, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Good, 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 good. So you do obviously believe that you can be in a constant state of prayer.
I do.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else want to share anything about that?
Hi, Gigi. This is Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi. I think it's very possible to be in constant prayer.
All right.
Yeah, because your thoughts can always be prayers instead of thoughts. You're
Yes.
asking God to help you do something, see me through this. Even when you're cooking, help me make this meal a delightful, tasteful meal.
Yes, yes.
To me, all of that is prayer.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I know for me, when I'm in constant prayer or when I'm able to stay in a prayerful state of mind, I fully realize all the blessings that I have, which I don't always see those if I'm not in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that one.
Allison, were you about to say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I don't know whether it would be considered prayer, but I feel like there are times when I feel like I'm in constant communication with Spirit.
Yes, that's a prayer.
Where, you know, I mean, even little things, like if I set something down and it's like, okay, what did I do with that?
Yeah.
If I stop and wait, I get a picture.
Yes.
Where I last saw it.
Yes, yes.
And to me, that is being in communication with Spirit.
All the time.
Continually.
Continually, yes, yes.
Now, if
yes.
I said I can't find it, then I can't find it. But if I ask, I get an answer.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. It's just a matter of asking to receive. Yes? Well, Unity has a 5-step method of prayer. Let me share it with you. The 5 steps are relaxation, concentration, meditation, realization, and I want to say appreciation. So if you notice that in Unity, we always take a moment to settle in, to just get centered and quiet and still. This is an opportunity to just relax. Then the next step in our 5-step Unity prayer is to concentrate. We concentrate on a particular subject or thing to have focus on. Let me see, let me think of an example. So it could be an affirmative prayer. I am the light of the world. Yes, I am. And I shine brightly each and every day, and on and affirming and continually affirm, not just for oneself, but for all people in which we come in contact with, right? So we want to do that for ourselves and for others. In effect, we're doing it for others when we do it for ourselves, because we have this connection that is beyond human understanding. Anyway, once we concentrate on a particular subject, if you will, then we can meditate alone or we can meditate in prayer. And if you will notice, a lot of people who pray a unity prayer, most times, not always, it doesn't always have to be this way, will just simply stop speaking, to allow a moment of silence, and after that moment of silence, words are spoken, and then you are in this space of realization, realizing that what you've just prayed is true. It was true even before you said the words. Realization of the truth. And then finally, appreciation, appreciating the God within. God is in us and we are in God. So that is unity prayer. But the most important thing is to pray from the heart. That is the most important thing. And we couldn't have a discussion about prayer and not bring up Myrtle Fillmore. Could we? No. I have to share or reshare that in 1886, do you believe that they were talking about New Thought way back in I thought New Thought was a new thing. Well, it's not. Way back in 1886, Myrtle Fillmore and Charles Fillmore went to listen to Dr. E.B. Weeks, and because this person was going around teaching New Thought. And although two people, Charles and Myrtle, walked into this place to hear Dr. Weeks speak, Charles came out the same way he went in. Myrtle, on the other hand, his wife, who was on his arm when she went in, came out totally and completely changed. From that moment on, she heard something and she held on to it. She held on to it tight. And I'm going to say it first, and I want you to affirm this with me. She heard something that caused her to repeat these words. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. Will you say that with me? I am a child of God. And therefore, I do not inherit sickness. She was forever changed. And we could say that unity came to be what it is because of her faith and her prayer. I am a child of God, and therefore, I do not inherit sickness. Woo! God bumps, God bumps. Okay, moving right along. Could someone please read this?
Could I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am, please do.
I've heard about the space between the space.
Yes.
When we pray, but I can't remember what that is. It just came to me when we were talking about prayer.
Okay, are you talking about the space, the silence in the unity?
Yes.
Okay. All right, because for a moment there, I thought you were talking about the gap in between thoughts during meditation.
Oh, that too.
Okay. Well, let me share the gap between meditation first and end with the prayer. So when we meditate, we are getting so centered that we are able to leave all outside. Mind you, our minds are never completely still. But however, if we have a mantra and we repeat this mantra, it becomes a song in our minds. And when our minds stray away, we think about our mantra and we continue back with repeating the mantra, and we continue. And Charlotte, at some point during, it doesn't happen all the time, and it's been over a year or two since I've had the experience, but there becomes a space where there's no thought, and who knows how long it lasts, because you don't know it was even there until you have the next thought.
Right. Yes. Okay. Thank
You've
you.
had that experience. I know you have.
I have. Yes.
Yes. And then if you're talking about the silence during prayer, when you have a concentrated area for prayer, you're praying for a specific person, and then you allow a moment of silence, just release the words. The words are for our ears anyway. So release the words and then just be in the silence, in the holy silence. And then as you are being in that holy silence, Charlotte, there is this realization that all that you have just prayed for already is. Whether it appears to be it with our physical eyes or not, it already is. Any other thoughts or questions?
That was great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, did we read this Ralph Emerson thing?
No.
Okay, would someone read that, please, Maddie?
Oh.
Caught you off guard, didn't I?
Yes. Okay. Ralph Waldo Emerson once defined prayer as the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. Applying this definition of prayer to our own lives, we can see that praying without ceasing is, in effect, keeping positive. It is no more than a simple but constant appreciation of life. Life has so many possibilities for us. Those possibilities become personal experiences when we have conditioned our minds with appreciation. The mind then becomes similar to fertile soil into which good seeds, divine ideas, fall to germinate, grow, and blossom into personal virtues.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
I like that. He says it's no more but then a simple but constant appreciation of life. That makes it real to me.
It does, right? Just a simple appreciation of life. And we can all do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Maddie, could you continue?
Yes, the alternatives here are several. Each of them affords you an opportunity to draw closer in consciousness to God. When you are close in consciousness to God, you have a new self-appreciation. You are more assured, more considerate of others, and more Christ-like in your actions. There is a special glow about those who are close to God. This is because you are special.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Beautiful thought.
Yes, that's a beautiful thought, right?
Yeah, it really is.
And not only that, let's see what else was said about that. Well, I don't know. I know I saw it here.
I see this word close to God, and I think of oneness, and that we're not, it's not like we're separate from God.
Right. And we're not.
But it says when you're close in consciousness to God, even though we all have God within us, we're not always paying attention and aware of it, and it's not a conscious thing. And when it becomes, I think he says, when it becomes conscious, then that's when you feel closer.
When it becomes conscious, yes.
Yeah, because we're not always conscious of it, really.
Coming from higher self.
It's always there.
Yes, it is always there. Worship. Worship, worship, worship. People go to church for so many reasons. Oh my goodness. They go for, and these are people, some who go to church who don't participate in any other activities of church, but they will come on Sunday morning. It could be just a ritual for them. They could have been brought up in the church and it's just the thing that they do. Or it could be for some political reason. Oh, I'm running for office. Let me get a whole bunch of these church folk to, sign on. So yes, people go to church for so many. Can you name some reasons that people might go to church?
Social, see friends.
Social, yes. Friends,
If they're the minister.
To do what?
If they're the minister.
If they're the minister, they have to go.
To meet
To sing. Some people go to sing.
Some people go to sing, yes.
Some people have a need to hear the sermon.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Maddie, the way you said that, there's more to that. There's more, Maddie, there's more.
Well, I guess I said it that way because I don't.
Yes. Oh.
Amen.
Well, I'm always thinking about my grandsons next door, and they have to go to church. They're Catholic, and they're at the age where they don't want to go to church anymore.
Yeah, well, it's a mortal sin for them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what the church, in the Catholic Church, it's a mortal sin if you don't attend church on Sunday.
Yeah, they just have to go.
I did not know that until this year when we, couldn't go to church.
It's a mortal sin, right?
Did not know that.
Mortal sin. It's also a mortal sin if you fail to receive the sacrament of penance, that is, go to confession at least once a year.
Oh, mercy.
That's pretty lengthy.
And what happens when it's a mortal sin?
You go to hell.
You go to hell. No chance otherwise. Do not pass go.
Go straight.
Straight to hell.
If you miss a Sunday or a mass, you have to go confess, I guess. Is that right?
Well, yeah, you don't have to, but if you want to go to heaven, you'll get forgiven for your sin. Yeah.
Okay, somebody read the next one, please. Anyone?
Starting at the end, where are we?
And of course.
And of course, there are those who attend church and become mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically involved in the worship service. The sermon or lesson, the instructional part of the service, helps them to know how to live a more positive and productive life. The prayers or meditations, the experiential part of the service, enable them to feel the presence of God. This feeling can be carried over into everyday living and be of great value. The dictionary says that to worship is to feel extreme adoration or devotion. In this definition, the word feel is important. In the true worship experience, feeling is the essence. What you feel becomes a part of you. It builds into your nature. It is reflected in your life. It becomes a quality of your character. It is the light that shines through you.
Oh, how beautiful, how beautiful. It is the light that shines through you. Okay. So you have to feel something.
Is Reverend Gio gone?
I don't know.
Yes, he's gone.
Okay, good. I don't think his sermons are, and this is good, I don't think his services are instructional. They're more opening up and revealing type of sermons. They don't tell you what to do.
Right.
They teach you to know what you already know.
And that's what unity does. It doesn't tell you what to think. It tells you how to think on your own.
Yeah.
Not what to think. Not I'm the minister and I know what's good for you, because guess why, Kenny? God
talks to me.
God spoke to me, and God told me to tell you what to do.
Well, guess what, minister? He talks to me too.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what I always feel very equal to Gio in terms of how to learn things. It's just amazing.
Yes, yes, that's beautiful. Beautiful, and thanks for sharing. Anybody else want to say anything about?
Oh, I do. I know that in the past when we were going to church,
When we weren't sinners.
there may have been a couple of times, more than a couple, that I didn't really want to get up and get ready and go.
Yeah.
I did anyway.
Yeah.
I always came back with something. You know, I always got something. There was a reason for me to be there. You know.
Yeah.
I always got something from the service.
Okay.
I was going through some old pictures and found these old Hungarian people that I used to go to church with. You know, I was raised as American Hungarian Baptist Church, and I had to sit through the Hungarian service and the English service. But anyway, there's this picture of the minister at our house, and I remember him coming to eat with us a lot. You know, every once a month he would be at our house for the dinner afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me how we thought he was we had him so high up there. You know, he was close to God. And we weren't.
Yeah.
That's why you ate free.
But I think that's why Unity doesn't have more people, because we give self-responsibility. We acknowledge that we're all responsible for our whole life and for what we do and how we live in our daily whatever shows up. And people don't necessarily want to accept that yet. You know, they want to be told.
Yeah.
You gotta do that, and you know.
It's easier to be told and fall short than to do it yourself, and you know, it's a little different.
Maddie, how did you come away from the Catholic Church when you were raised with that? I mean, that's what I run into, you know, next door, and my good friends. I mean, they're all just, oh no, that's a sin. We can't do that. It has to be this way. Absolutely. You know, how did you get away from it?
I'm a rebel. I don't know. There were certain things I didn't accept. I believe that there's a lot of good in the church, and I feel like I learned a lot of good. But there were certain things that I just did not believe and accept.
Yeah.
And so I went on my own search and seeking.
Because that's that God energy inside of you saying that I made more for you. You are more than this. You are more than this.
You are not this.
Yeah, you know, they taught that to suffer was because God loves you best, and I didn't believe that.
The more you suffer, the more God loves you.
Yeah.
Why?
You're faithful to God. You know, the people who are persecuted and really having a hard time in life, well, they're God's favorites. Oh my God. Well, thank you. No, I don't want to be.
And also all the saints that they prayed to. I didn't ever.
Well, that I think that they don't think they're divine. They think that they're friends, like that can intercede for them. In other words, they can tell, like I tell Saint Teresa, this is how I feel, and help me. And so Teresa will go to Jesus and tell him for you, you know, things like that.
They're
just all good people. They weren't considered gods.
Oh.
You know, the God I grew up with never, ever, ever laughed. And I wanted no part of that.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted no part of that.
Yeah.
God has a sense of humor. I know that to be true.
Look at the platypus. You know he does.
Really? What made you even think of that?
I always think of things like that when I think God's got a sense of
There
humor.
was a picture of a baby platypus in Facebook the other day. A cute little one in one picture. It was so cute.
Oh my goodness.
That was a baby one. It was cute.
Okay, someone please read the alternative for worship.
The alternative here is not necessarily a substitute, but it could be. This is something you do in addition to your Sunday worship experience. It is worship on a daily basis. This worship occurs at any time and in any place that you feel adoration for and devotion to God. This worship experience is not something that must be experienced in church. Worship on a daily basis can be done at any place, any time.
At any place, at any time, in the woods, at the
Absolutely.
lake. It doesn't have to be in a building. Where else can we worship?
Right where you are.
Doing the dishes.
Doing the dishes right where you are. Absolutely. So the final slide is coming up. This concludes our slide presentation. The important thing to remember is the alternative. That is, worship does not have to be limited to attending church. We just said that. And it should not be. Letting your spirit soar in a sense of adoration and devotion to God should not be just a weekly experience.
Amen.
These are the benefits that will accrue when you exercise your alternative to worship constantly. Now, we got through all those slides. This is the opportunity for us to go into our 3 breakout sessions. And how many? There's 9 of us. Yes, there's 9 of us. So,
there's 8.
There's 8?
Mm-hmm.
It says 8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, including me?
Including you?
What? How
1,
did that happen?
Somebody left.
Oh, Gio left and
Don left.
Don had to leave, and Gio's friend from Hawaii had to leave. Okay.
Oh, okay.
No worries, no worries. And so this is how we're gonna do this.
This is how we do.
Okay. I want you to count off. This is how. Can y'all? Okay, Kenny, I see you, and I see Debbie and Barbara. So 1, 2, 3. You 3 are going to be in the humanity breakout room. So could you guys leave the Zoom room now? And for 5
what will
minutes.
happen.
And I want you to come back in. Come back in. Leave the Zoom room for 5 minutes. Put the timer on. Whoever's got their clock, their phone. Put the timer on for 5 minutes. Just 5. I want you to collaborate over what we discuss about humanity.
How?
How are they supposed to do that?
Collaborate.
Why
Yeah,
don't we
how do you
just
get
mute
into the Zoom
y'all?
room?
Oh, but y'all could hear us.
How are they
No.
supposed to collaborate when they're not anywhere and they don't see each other?
Because you're going to call each other on the phone 3-way.
Oh, I don't have everybody's number. We can't do that.
Who's our group?
It was you, Kenny, Debbie, and Barbara, and then Charlotte, Maddie, and Allison.
I don't even know how to do that on the phone.
I wish I knew how to do that at Breakout Zoom. Okay, well,
You can do it on your screen somewhere.
Okay, if that's not, no, it's not. I looked. I really looked.
I know how to do it. Barbara, give me your number and I'll call you and Kenny.
But
Can
wait,
you tell me how to do it?
but Charlotte doesn't know
I
how.
don't know how to do it.
You just have to answer your phones when Debbie calls you is all.
All right. Debbie.
Okay, hold on. Maddie,
Yeah.
I gotta find my phone.
Sarah, do you know how to 3-way?
No.
You don't know how to 3-way?
On the phone,
That was awful.
I've never did it before, but I can figure it out.
Debbie, can you tell us how to do it?
Okay, I don't know. Does everybody have an iPhone?
I don't have I have an Android.
I just put my phone number in the chat, Debbie.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can everybody put their phone number in the chat?
You call someone first, and then you've got, say I call Kenny, I've got him on the phone. Then, I don't know, I have to have it up.
I can't find my phone.
Are you serious, Kenny?
Oh, what else is new?
No. If it rings, I'll answer it.
Okay, well then forget about it. This is what we're gonna do. That's not gonna work. We're gonna do it this way.
For us.
Okay, so we're all going to just give a review of humanity, and then a review of worship, and then a review of prayer. And then one person will share All right. I just wish you guys could break out, but since you can't.
Well, and that's what you need to find out by the next class.
I will. Don't worry. I will figure it out. All right. So are we all still here, all 8 of us? Yes, I see we're all still here. All right. I'm going to go back to the top. And then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to call on 3 people. I'm going to go back to the top of the slides. And then I'm going to stay at each slide just for a moment.
I got my phone.
Too late. We're doing something different. All right. So I'm just going to stay on each slide for a minute. And then I'm moving to the next slide. And then I'm going to call on 3 people to give us a synopsis of these 3 subjects, okay? So be quiet, everybody, and just observe. All right. Everybody now has a reminder. Each person has a reminder of what we've covered with regards to humanity, prayer, and worship. Let's see. Who would like to share? How about we do it this way? Whoever would like to share, raise their hand in the raise hand thing. Click on participants and then raise your hand so I can see you. Y'all know how to do that? I can't do it because I'm a host, but all you have to do is click on participants, and then you should see a place for you to raise your hand. Kenny, stop laughing. He's just
because I made him do the same thing in book club on Saturday, and somebody goes, "Can't we just do this?"
That's what I say.
It's not what I said.
Reaction.
That's what I was laughing at.
Doing it, Gigi, because nobody wants to share.
Nobody. Also, now you want me to call on people?
That's what Gio does.
Yes, it's easier.
Okay. All right. Charlotte, you're first.
Oh gosh, I knew this. Okay, well, we all have ponder this. We all have a belief system, so we have to be willing to look at other things that come along and that might change our belief system to adjacent, possible, or impossible.
Oh, wait a minute, Charlotte. I apologize. So tell me what you're sharing, humanity, prayer, or worship?
Oh, I'd rather share something else.
No!
You're supposed to tell her what to share.
No, you got to share from one of those categories.
At the beginning. Well, I'd like to talk about the prayer because that was something that I felt very good about when we were talking about it.
Okay, well, you talk about prayer.
Okay. Well, in unity, we pray that we know that we are a child of God, and therefore we do not inherit sickness or anything negative. And what most people do what we learned to do when we were in other churches was pray supplication, where we begged for things to happen. And so now we know that we're already part of God, and that whatever we're creating and praying for is already happening. And I love that about what Myrtle said, when I'm a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. I wrote that down again. I've heard it over and over. But it's especially important for me because I'm always thinking about my knee or, my husband's illness or whatever. And so I'm now knowing that all these things are in God's hands, in my hands, in God's spirit. And I know that they're already on their way to being whatever they need to be. And I like the idea of when you get to that certain place in prayer, you might get to that place where there's absolutely no thought. And that did happen to me a few times. And like you say, it doesn't happen very often. But when we release the words, we take a breath in prayer, and then we release the words, and we be in that holy silence, and the words come. Whatever is on your mind or whatever's in your heart will come out in your prayer. And the other thing that was important was two things. Just to pray constantly. We were praying constantly. Like I said, I'll be doing the dishes or sweeping or making the bed, and I'm thinking, this is a good thing. Whereas before, I used to think, this is work. And now I think, we're in service to our better self, our higher self in spirit. And this is all connected. And the other important thing is the appreciation of prayer. When we're in prayer, we are grateful for all the abundance that we have. And we normally state that. And I know that at church, we have our prosperity prayer. And that's what that's about. It's all about thanking our higher selves for all that we create that's good in our church and in our lives and in the world. So that's about it with prayer.
Wonderful. Good job. Let's give her some love, everybody. Clap for Jasmine or whatever. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay, so now guess what? I've switched it up again. Charlotte, you get to pick the next person to present.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and this person is going to present on humanity.
Humanity. Okay, I think Kenny.
Oh, shit.
No, humanity.
Okay, well, one and the same.
Yeah, that's what you meant to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. he said so much about what we've ingrained ourselves to believe, that we are sinners unworthy of a jealous God. And that's just not the way it is, although that's the way a lot of people still believe. And I just know that I have to hold my humanity, stand firm in what I believe, and that if some of it rubs off and they start to see a little bit of light, that's great. If they don't, you can only stay in the darkness for so long till you just don't believe anything you see. So I just think you have to stand firm, put on, your unity best, and live that way. And people will eventually ask you, hey, you seem to be having a good time. What do you believe?
Yes.
And then you just try to keep acting that way. I know. Yeah, that's it. Humanity.
Thank you for that. You were paying attention.
I'm too poor to pay attention.
Stop. All right, let's show Kenny some love.
Okay, let me see who I want to. Do I get to pick?
You do.
What are they going to get to talk about?
This person is going to present on worship.
Maddie.
Oh, Kenny! My friend! Okay, worship is defined as extreme adoration or devotion. And worship occurs at any time we feel love and devotion to God. And we were reading about or talking about the reasons people go to church, and there are many reasons, and a lot of them are, or some of them are just habit. Some of them go for the sermon, some go for the songs, some go for the community and fellowship, and that's it. I don't have any more to say.
Can I ask her a question?
Yes.
How do you worship?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Talking to me?
Yes.
I don't.
Talking to me?
I don't really worship much. I don't know.
I see you in worship all the time.
Yeah, anytime, any place. Remember that? Constantly.
That's prayer.
Not only in church.
Prayer. I do prayer constantly. Prayer without.
And I think prayer and worship sort of intermingle sometimes. I think.
I don't know. I don't think I do much worshiping of anything. Well, I mean, I guess I feel love and devotion to God and to and especially to Jesus' teachings.
Adoration.
But I don't exactly worship. Like I don't know. I don't have that adoration kind of gene. I don't have that in me.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I don't think she has to have that in her. I think that's fine, however she feels about it.
I always see her worshiping. Always.
Well, give me an example of what you mean by that.
I just do. You just walk in worshiping to me. Maybe it's a prayer. Maybe it's prayer, but
yes, prayer.
But not worship.
I have a thought about it.
Okay.
Prayer is internal. Worship is external. Worship is
that's good.
That's good. That could be work. That works for me.
That sounds good. Because I do a lot of internal stuff.
But you're really good at
you know how you get with my singing.
And when you greet someone, you hug them and greet them and make them feel welcome. And you do that a lot.
That's not worship. That's love, but I'm not worshiping the people that I care about. I'm
the next person, okay?
I'm loving this. Okay, now everyone, that was beautiful, and all of you, you did great.
Come, I didn't get any jazz hands.
Oh, jazz hands! Jazz hands! Claps! I'm totally. Don't let me ever forget, Maddie. All right.
She won't.
I want you all to take out pen and paper.
Okay.
Got it.
Did that come with a class?
No.
And listen to this beautiful music. I want you to journal about your experience. Can you hear the music? Is it too loud?
Not well.
Not well.
All right.
I hear surges.
All right. Journal about your class, your experience, your thoughts.
My thoughts are that I thought it was Monday.
Oh my.
You know what?
A little late.
Glad you're here.
A little bit late.
Mary missed the class.
Yeah,
Well,
I
we're
did.
glad to see you at any time, Mary.
I'm glad to be here. Go Journal.
Okay.
I only have one.
Oh, God, I don't have anything.
It's 8 o'clock.
It is?
Where?
Where?
Yeah, it is.
Grapevine, Texas.
All right. How is everybody doing? Everybody seems to be complete with their thoughts.
Yep.
All right. Do we have anybody who wants to share from their journaling?
I just had one sentence. I'll go real quick.
Share.
Mine said this was about humanity praying with their God, worshiping themselves as free.
Okay. Now, that is something that it sounds like was very easy for you to take on and absorb.
Yeah.
Was there any shift in your belief, or is this something that was always your belief?
The shift in my belief had occurred earlier. This was not always my belief, but this was very easy to get to. I would call this my belief system, not my alternate.
Okay, so this is not outside of your belief system. This is not the, what was it?
Adjacent. This is not my adjacent.
This is not your adjacent.
Nothing tonight was my
adjacent. This is not your adjacent possible. This is your belief system.
It is.
The shift had already come.
It is.
Okay, very good. Anybody else like to share?
Well, I agree with Kenny because I already had the belief system since I've been in Unity, but this is a way of reaffirming those principles of unity and thoughts like unity.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it.
Okay, anything in particular that you want to share?
No, it's just all is.
all that stuff, huh?
All that stuff.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Barbara. Anybody else like to share?
I'll read mine.
Okay.
I thought I knew all about my beliefs, prayer, and worship, but learned new alternatives. Some I already practice and others are vague. I remembered about being a child and not understanding why I was a sinner. I am so blessed to know that is not true. Thank you, God. I love to worship, feel adoration or devotion to my learning unity principles and pray for a way, and I forget, I can't read my writing, for a way to live in harmony. But basically my thoughts that are new are just things we talked about. It wasn't like I had a big shift, but this thing about sin and all, I didn't really understand that it was original sin, and we talked about it somewhat, and it's still all really, like I said, vague. I haven't shifted, but I think I was like where the other two were. I'm already there, but something new always comes up.
Yeah. So you are within your belief system. This is not the adjacent possible for you.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Anybody else like to share?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about when you say the adjacent? I don't know.
Okay.
There when first 15 minutes when I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Probably.
It was.
Yes, and I'll give you a little brief synopsis. So we all have our own belief system, right?
Yeah.
Let's say your belief system is right in this circle. You see that?
I do.
All right, and then outside of your belief system, which is really a bunch of BS, excuse me. But I didn't say that. Paul said that. Paul Hasselbeck said that. And then outside of your belief system is something adjacent to your belief system. So when you hear something for the first time that challenges your belief system, it may not be so far out there that you cannot adapt to that belief. So the adjacent possible is something that you can bring into your belief system, right? Okay. Then outside of your adjacent possible is the not possible. Okay, so you may hear something that is so far outside of your belief system that you think, oh no, you are going to recurl back into your old belief system and hold on tight, because rather than to expand a little bit to take in, you've decided that's so far out there, I'm not going to touch any of it. So that's
Okay,
what
I
we're talking
understand.
about.
Thank you.
Yeah, your belief system.
Yeah. There was one time in my life when I thought reincarnation was out there, not possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And all
When I
of that.
came to Unity, it was this thing I've said about being, you know, part of God. That was outside of my belief system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I couldn't accept that for a long time.
Right. Some people think that God in us and we are in God is the not possible.
Yeah.
The
I thought-
adjacent not possible.
Yeah.
And I got to
Well,
make sure I'm
nothing tonight was outside of my current belief system, but I didn't start out that way. But nothing
and
was
this,
new.
and this is the other thing too that Paul Hasselbeck shares. He says sometimes we can hear something that will cause a fight, flight, or freeze response
Mm-hmm.
when it's in that adjacent not possible, or not adjacent and not possible.
Yeah.
So it's not even within the realm of us understanding it.
Well, I think that a lot of people have that kind of response to some of the things I might tell them. So I don't tell, but you know, yeah, there are some beliefs that I currently hold that I'm sure some people in a different place would have that response.
Yeah.
I used to at one point, some of it, you know.
Yeah. I tell you, when I first came into Unity, and oh my God, at the beginning of the service, I thought, oh, all these people are going to hell. Oh my gosh. All the stuff I was hearing.
The one that a lot of people have a problem with is Jesus was not the
Not
exception.
the example. Yeah, that was it.
That's huge.
That did it.
That's what made me stay.
That's what kept me there. That's
Right.
what kept me there.
Me
That
too.
is what made me think, oh, they're going to hell. I better run.
Nothing in Unity came as news to me because I was searching for years, and all the things that Unity was teaching I already had come to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Yeah,
comfortable.
ditto.
Like, oh, finally, a place that teaches what I believe already, you know?
Yeah.
I've never been able to put them into a package that made sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
but
and
this
Unity
is,
was able to do that for me.
I didn't try. I didn't care
Yeah.
about it in the package.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was just the way it was.
Yeah.
the thing
But
that
I
made me
I
stay.
enjoyed tonight. I would like to just say that what I enjoyed the most was hearing that Adam and Eve was the allegory of when of separation. That was a good point.
That was good,
Yes.
wasn't it?
And, yeah, and then the concept of prayer without ceasing I've heard before, but I enjoyed hearing it again. And the definition of worship, which you know I never really give much thought to. So it was good.
Good, good, wonderful. Anybody else like to share?
Well, I'll just say, I don't think a lot of that traditional teachings were ingrained in me, but I had questions. There were some things that just didn't seem to make sense to me. I just thought, how can that be? Like, once saved, always saved. And
Yeah.
Jesus dying on the cross for our sins was just, I never figured out how that could happen. And
Yeah, that was balderdash.
I know.
How about when you have to be born again?
It's in the Bible.
The one thing that got me were all these people that could be bad, evil people all their lives, and then on their deathbed they find Christ.
Yeah.
That used to drive me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to be
That's
born
right, and
again.
everything was expunged.
Exactly.
Right.
A good act of contrition, right, Maddie?
Right?
A good act of contrition.
Right.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
So when I came to Unity, it was like you said, Kenny, it all kind of went, oh my gosh, yes, I love this. I mean, we weren't born in sin. We were born perfect. And we're the ones who mess it up if we, choose to. But there's no dying on the cross for our sins. There's metaphysical meaning in that. But there were just the teachings were just, they made sense to me. And I was so glad to get clarity on some things. And it just feels so comfortable to me.
The one thing
But so to say, tonight, this was already, you know, my belief system. There was nothing tonight that was outside of my belief system.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to just say, in the beginning, it said original sin, and there was an implication that no matter what you did your whole life, you would always have the sin. Well, that's something that was not, I never heard that. Nobody ever told me that. I knew we were born with original sin, but once you were baptized, it was over. You got rid of it. You know, you didn't live. There was no way that you didn't get rid of your sin for the whole life.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. So I was surprised to see that. I was never taught that. Anyway.
Well, I tell you, the one thing that made me stay, that pulled me in, was the expansive explanation of God.
Yeah.
I was so fearful of this man that was up there. And because he was so old, he had to have a long beard.
And white.
And he was white. And he was white. He had to be a white man with a long beard. And he did not like most people. And he was mean.
Ever wonder why he created you in a different color?
Yeah.
I would have
too.
And Gigi, you just described my dad, and so that's why I have to say it like this.
Stop. But yeah, so it started to make sense to me. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's true that Jesus is the master teacher, and maybe it's true that he's our elder brother teaching us, pointing to the way that we should go, pointing to the God that's within, heaven that is within. Maybe there's something to that. And then when you learn about the 2 creation stories in Genesis, then you have to look at, okay, the Bible cannot be taken literally. We need to do some research, and we need to find out when it was written, how it was written, by whom, and all this. And when you really delve deep into the Bible, and I didn't do that before Unity, when you delve deep into the Bible, you realize a whole bunch of stuff could not have happened in the way that is illustrated in that book. It's a good teaching tool. It is filled with allegories that help us to, I guess, understand, but it's not to be taken literally, because people have gone crazy reading the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me too, you know, the Baptists really pop up that all these things I do, you shall do too, and more. The Baptists really lure you in with that kind of talk. But this is the first time in my life I've ever truly known that that is true, that all those things that Christ could do, I could do too. Yeah. I mean, I never believed that for a second in the other, when I was Baptist. But
and also, Kenny, the Jesus and the Christ, you know, learning that Christ really is not Jesus's last name, number one.
Right.
And that Christ was present before Jesus. I mean, this was a spirit of sorts that was.
I think I'm going to come in the rooms as Kenny Christ from now on.
Remember that. You can do that, and you won't be struck down by lightning.
Exactly.
Just don't get carried away with the kid.
You might get struck down, but it won't be by lightning.
Jesus taught us all of these things if we just look a little closer.
And this feels good. That stuff didn't feel good.
Yeah. Right.
This feels good.
Well, I want to invite you all to read this book doesn't have chapters. It has titles.
Topics.
So topics. I want to invite you all to read Baptism and Communion, pages 37 through 48, if you have the book.
I don't have the book.
If you do, then wonderful. If you don't, then you'll get excerpts on it and slides on next Tuesday.
Oh.
And by next Tuesday, I will have figured out how to create breakout rooms. Yes. So now I want to take an opportunity. By the way, I started to send in my donation via text for the very first time, but I only like doing that when I can do it via PayPal. So I'm sending in a check. I started to text you, Mary, to say, Mary, I'm sending in a check. But anyway.
Okay, we'll take anything.
Hold on 1 second. I'm looking for something here.
Does this class go to 8:30?
Well, because I allow for a 10-minute break, we are actually ending a few minutes early. So if you will allow me to find what I'm looking for, we are going to do our, just hold on, just talk amongst yourselves.
I'm going to write my check.
Okay. Don't you just hate it when you can't find what you're looking for and you know it's right here looking at you?
Ask your angels.
Unless I walked off with it and took it to another room, which I don't think I did. Hold on. Frustrating.
But look and allow it to come.
Gigi, you already know it, whatever it is you.
But you know, I want to do it just right for you, Charlotte. I want
an angel right behind you, whispering where it is, right in your ear. Listen.
Okay, let me see. Clearly, is this it? Clearly, I don't listen well.
I've gotten to times when I asked. Yeah, well, they told you.
They did. I've
been told, go, you know, where it is, and I go, no, I know it's not there. And then 20 minutes later, I finally go there, and there it is.
See, this is beautiful. Okay, so for our offering, there are a few ways in which you can give via text, call, Mary, or USPS. Please take a moment to write down these numbers. Y'all want to write down this way to text? The number is 817-606-8768, or you can call Mary at the church at 817-488-1008, or you can mail a check, which I will be doing, to Post Office Box 667, Grapevine, Texas 76099. Any amount is appreciated. So would you please join me in this offertory thanksgiving and repeat after me? The infinite law of abundance flows through me.
The infinite
law of abundance flows through me.
I am a channel of love and blessings.
I am a channel
of love and blessings.
Through which all good things are expressed.
Through which all good things are expressed.
Thank you, Father, Mother God, and so it is, and so we allow it to be. Amen. Thank you so much for coming to this class on Ponder This. Jazz hands.
Thank you.
Namaste, namaste. I hope to see all of you tomorrow. Not tomorrow.
Don't wait till next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday at 6:30. And I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Allison, my friend in Colleyville, and my friend from Florida, Sarah. Sarah, say hi.
I think she left.
Oh, I'm going to get her.
Sarah Gilbert?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she left.
Okay. Well, Allison, you're still here.
Hey, Allison.
Right there.
Allison's having a cookie.
Thank you, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Course of Miracles tomorrow night.
Good to see you guys. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.